They say if you ain't early, you ain't on time. And here he is, the Bishop. Bronner, what's happening, my man?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm having the time of my life. That's a fantastic fireplace you have behind you.
Got just a place to keep me warm when I need it.
Brother, I tell you. Now, see, what for me is exciting about the opportunity to speak with you, Bishop, is you represent for our community a new way of looking at faith. Not just what you do in the church, but you are an author. How many books do you have?
I think I've written about 8.
And did I see one is in Spanish?
Claro que sí.
Do you speak Spanish?
Todo el mundo habla español.
What?
Es como una lengua segunda a mi ahora.
And when did you learn this?
En el colegio, in high school.
Where did you go to high school? Where'd you grow up?
I grew up right here in Atlanta in a public high school. And actually, my Spanish teacher is a member of my church. She happened to have this uncanny ability to be able to make learning fun. And to me, whatever is fun is easy. And she made it fun. She immersed us in the culture. I mean, she actually was cooking tacos and burritos in the classroom. Mexico, and it made learning the language fun. And so I learned it then.
But you held on to it, though, Bishop. Because I'm telling you, I had one of those Spanish teachers, Senorita Marcelli, and she was super dope, and we had fun, and she had us doing things. I can speak cero Spanish, and I just got a spot in Puerto Rico. I really, and I look Puerto Rican. So I need to speak Spanish, because people come up to me and speak to me in Spanish all the time. You are clearly a very bright and committed person. How did you get started in your journey of faith?
Well, you know, I actually grew up in a strong family business. And because my dad was an entrepreneur, a businessman that started a business back in 1947 in the racing South. And he succeeded. He was absolutely wild and crazy to be able to do that. And it was the faith that was in him. It was the faith that was in my mother. I actually learned my faith from home. I got it from home. It wasn't something that I got in the church. I saw it being demonstrated actually in my own home. That inspired me. I learned the principles. I actually started my ministry. I taught the Bible in my parents' home for 13 years, and as many as 75 people would sometimes come and sit in our living room and listen to me teach. So it's been a great journey.
You clearly have a gift of communication. Obviously, you're bilingual at least. But talk to me about the challenges that you face as somebody who leads. Not you don't have a small church, brother. You may have heard. You have quite a congregation. I don't think people understand the pressures that are put on you. What is it that your community expects of you?
Oh, wow. You know, in times like these, it's a changing target, I think. Many people expected of ministers years ago has shifted and changed, probably with the advent even of technology. There were certain things that they used to depend on the minister. They Google it now. They go to YouTube and watch a video. And it's even on demand. So, but I am so much more than what I would call a content provider. I'm a pastor. I'm a visionary. I'm in touch with where human hearts are, the pains that they deal with. I like to be able to shift people's focus in their life. The areas of your focus are the areas of your reward, and the areas neglect are the areas of your pain. If you really think about that, whatever you focus on, it gets better. And whatever you neglect, it gets worse. If you focus on your finances will get better. If you focus on your intellect, your education, it will get better. If you focus on your health, it will get better. So whatever that needs to be improved, focus on it. The areas of your focus are the areas of your reward, but then the areas of your neglect are the areas of your pain. Neglect your health and watch and see what happens. Neglect your finances, watch and see what happens. Neglect your marriage, watch and see what happens. Neglect your relationship with your children and watch the attitude and the rebellion and the disrespect. So whatever you see happening that you really want to improve, focus on it, because focus gives us power and intensity. Whatever we focus on, we actually make better in our lives. That has been helpful to me. I have kept my focus very, very clear, because if you focus on your pain, you prolong your suffering. But if you focus on the lesson that you learn through the struggles that you've gone through, then you actually extend your growth. And so I'm interested in extending growth. I'm a lifelong learner. And every time something happens, I am looking and searching to see, what is this trying to teach me? What's the lesson in this that I need to carry with me that actually makes me better? What is it that makes me better? I want to challenge people to think. I grew up with a dad that was like, if you give a man a fish, you'll feed him for a day. You teach him how to fish, you'll feed him for a life. But my dad, being an entrepreneur, he said, buy the pond, and then you can actually fish in your waters. And so things to another level of thinking to me. It really honestly did. It took things to another level of thinking. You can never live beyond the level of your thinking in your life.
Where does the courage come from to buy a pond? In your, because let's be honest, right? Many people, well-intended people who love us,
yes,
will tell us ponds are for other people.
yes,
We ain't supposed to own ponds.
yes, yes.
Why do you have the courage or insanity to buy the proverbial pond? What is it about you?
Wow. You know, I realized early in life, because I saw it demonstrated again in my dad, that we are rewarded commensurate with the amount of risk that we are willing to tolerate. So courage is necessary only when there's a risk. Courage is not doing something in the absence of fear. It's watching the fear, looking at the fear head on and saying, you know what, this could kill me. I could, this whole deal could go belly up. This could really go sour. But it is saying, I'm going to go anyway. I'm going to go anyway. That has always been my faith, that, you know, that if I just make a move, you know, God will make a way. He didn't charge us to make the way. We make the move, God will make the way. You just get up and start going towards something. You know, if I'm hungry, I'm not going to sit there and mealy mouth about it. I'm going to get up and go hunting. And I'm going to say, Lord, you know, sharpen my aim. Give me focus. Help me to see opportunities that are hidden to others. Because what I discovered was this, is that there were certain things that were not hidden from me. They were hidden for me. And there's some problems that exist uniquely in the world. It's just waiting for eyes that will look at it and say, here's an opportunity, a place for growth. It's intimidating. It is intimidating. And nobody has ever done anything that is noteworthy who's not attempted something that was intimidating to them. I mean, look at what you have done in the lives of young people and dealing with their parents that I'm sure sometimes have made you angry because of that neglect and that lack in dealing with their children.
You ain't gonna preach to me tonight, brother. You ain't gonna get into my life. You ain't gonna talk about the phone call I had before we got on this. You ain't doing that to me. I rebuke thee. You will not today. No, this is your conversation. You are not gonna have the conversation that I just had with a parent who I love, but just had with a parent. But you talk about fear. You know that people in positions such as yours, people are going to look and please. They gave that to him. They gave that to him, right? What are you? Because anyone can talk about the backstory, but right now, what's in your crosshairs that you're working to overcome now?
Yeah, wow. You know, one of the biggest things that I'm always working to overcome are new paths toward the future because nobody has experience for the future. We use experience from the past, we get wisdom from that, but it is a scary situation to deal with a new mindset, with new attitudes, with new behavior. And see, behavior follows beliefs. And problems in our society, it lets me know how far our belief system, our faith has drifted just by what we're seeing manifested in the culture. Because
what are you seeing in the culture?
oh my goodness. The same thing that you're seeing, you know, it starts, the sickness, the dysfunction starts in the home. And let me tell you that, let me share a story. It was a little poem that a girl actually wrote in a creative writing class, 8 years old. She penned these words. She said, if you're not disciplined in the home, you're disciplined in the school. And if you're not disciplined in the school, you're disciplined in the streets. And if you're not disciplined in the streets, you're disciplined in the jail. And if you're not disciplined in the jail, time's up, you're in hell. Old girl wrote that in a creative writing class in my church.
So we see that. We see that there's a complexity of our community.
Yes.
That there are the challenges of Black Lives Mattering when somebody outside our community takes one.
Yes.
But Black lives not seeming to matter enough for us to bring forward the person who is Black, who killed one of us.
Yes. Yeah.
How do we as a community work our way through the duplicitousness of Black lives?
Yeah, wow. You know, I think our real great challenge at the end of the day is to actually be able to love each other. The rest of the world, the white community, is not afraid of Black hate. They're afraid of Blacks loving each other, believing each other, mentoring each other. They're afraid that if we come together, bind together, believe in each other, and have the strength of the Black family, which is the essence, the core of everything else. All of our businesses, our schooling, everything else, our attitudes, the foundation of that happens not in the church, in the home. God ordained the home before he ever ordained the church. And that's why if we don't get it right in the home, I mean, right where mothers and fathers are. And there's a deep, deep issue in our culture is the individualism that has made us such a selfish, narcissistic society. Do this, it's your time, live it up for you. When parents have to sacrifice for their children. I am grateful to God. When there weren't parents.
Do you see that changing? Do you see, does it seem like parents are less likely to sacrifice than maybe you remember?
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's because of the message of the culture. The culture is saying, now is your time. It's your time to live your dream, live your best life. And they don't realize that unless you birth and nurture something that will outlive you, I mean, success without a successor is failure. And we did. I mean, the greatest thing that we could do was to be able to pour. My dad had 6 sons. He didn't start until he was 40 years old. And he seemed like such a wise man to me because I'm son number 4 out of 6. And he was such an incredibly wise man, totally gray haired, just like I am by my age, you know. And in fact, he had my baby brother when he was 60 years old. I just turned, yeah, you know. So I can't imagine having a newborn at my age now. I just that's not on my bucket list.
Yours either.
I mean, I've got 9 grandchildren and a 10th one on the way. So, you know, and so it's for me to be able to pour into them, to capacitate them, to give them the advantage of my perspective. And sometimes people would ask me, you know, what would you say to your younger self? Well, I don't really have a message to my younger self. I have a message to my older self right now to say, let me take what I know now and impact my future. I really honestly believe that life is lived in three phases. The first phase is learning, the second phase is earning, and the third phase is returning. And these phases actually overlap with each other. That while you're learning, you can be earning at the same time. And while you're earning, you can still be returning and pouring back and mentoring and raising up something that is actually going to outlive you. But it has to be where you see the value in the future. It's our way of giving back to say that what has been done in me, this is not for me. The gifts that we have, I want you to think of yourself, everybody who's watching, think of yourself like a tree. The Bible calls us trees of the Lord, the righteousness of his planting. That no tree, no orange tree consumes oranges. No peach tree. You know, trees don't eat the fruit that they produce. The gifts that are best in your own life, they don't really feed you. They feed other people that have that need of what God placed in you and then through you. So in the same way, the things that we need, it's actually coming from someone else's life. But we are designed to be able to produce something that feeds another generation. We feed them. We are the ones. It is God puts the milk for the baby, not in the baby's own stomach. He puts it in the mother's breast. It's not for her. And she becomes engorged and uncomfortable with pain if she doesn't have the baby to receive it. The baby aches because he's hunger, and the supply, they go hand in hand. So every gift that we have is just like mother's milk that's in the breast. We start aching, it needs to get out. Whether it's a creative gift, an educational gift, a singing gift, you know, whatever that gift is, cleaning, cooking, making something better than before you actually had it, using that gift to make a difference. A gift is not a gift until it is given. A song is not a song until you sing it. A bell is not a bell until you ring it. Life is not life until you live it. It has to be given away for it to even have meaning. A gift is not a gift until it is given. It has to be shared, not consumed.
We see so many children who don't have their fathers in
Yes.
their lives.
Yep.
Simply put,
yes.
There are in every community a few brothers, if we're going to be frank,
Sure.
who got to have the bigger cars. They got to have the SUV because they got to pick up everybody's kid to go play basketball or to come to choir practice. How come we don't call the men who are the deadbeat dads to the carpet? Why is it that they get away with it?
Oh, wow. Wow. Well, you know, sometimes when we see something like that in the culture, to me, we are seeing a reaction from a deeper cause. And when we see the reaction, we've got to ask ourselves, what's the trigger behind this? Now, here's probably the thing that I have heard most commonly from men is that I love my son, I love my daughter, I love my children, but I can't deal with their mother. My whole week is then thrown off after I come to her because of whatever issues that she's dealing with. It's the baby mama drama that actually keeps them in many instances from going and spending time with their children. The children become the weapon of war that they use against each other, whether it's over child support issues and just saying, I can't control anything else in my life because he left me and I'm resentful over that, but I know that he loves his child and I'm going to withhold his child and measure this out, and it angers the man because it becomes a control issue. And so that becomes a trigger. And the child is the victim of that particular war that is happening between their mama and their daddy. And that is one thing that has to be seriously addressed.
So there are some married men whose weeks have been blown up by their wife. So why is it though that we seem to empathize with men who don't go pick their kids up from school regularly, who don't FaceTime them regularly, who don't go to their recitals or basketball games?
Sure.
Why is it that we seem to understand their plight when in the scenario, right, there's the child whose plight is the worst?
Yes.
I would argue the mother or the parent who's raising this child by herself.
Yes.
And then I would argue her support staff who didn't decide to have a child, by the way.
Yes.
Aunties and pastors and imams and coaches who have to not be with their child because they got to pick up this child to take to this place that some other person was clearly equipped enough to do.
Sure.
And then there to me is the brother who is one of the producers of the child who find. Why is it that we in our community are so uncomfortable with calling him out?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, when you think of the story of the prodigal son that went and spent all, you know, the story and wound up in the pig pen. Now we've got a whole generation of fathers, grown men, but who never emotionally matured. When he came to himself, the Bible says, he said, I will arise and go to my father's house. But here's our great conundrum that we deal with in the culture today. We've got a whole generation that has been born in the pig pen and never raised in father's house. And until you have first been a son, you don't know how to be a father. So unless somebody has been that father figure, that's why something back in that there's a trauma in that own child whose daddy never showed up for him, who never opened his heart and communicated and hugged his child and told him, I love you, who showed up at his game, who was the one that was at the school. My dad showed up at my school. So it was natural for me to show up for my children. It was modeled for me. So if that has never been modeled for a man, and he's like, well, my wife or the babies, their mama will take care of that. She handles everything at the school. But my dad, I remember being in a play in the second grade. My dad walked away from a business meeting because he said, I can build a business at any time, but I've got one shot at raising my family. But you got to realize my dad was in his 50s at that time, coming there to a second grader.
Well, let's just stay there. So for me, it's the opposite, Bishop. My
Sure.
father was not there.
Sure.
Regardless of what people who I'm also related to want to say, I know who was there and I know who wasn't.
Sure.
And for me, what was natural is I never wanted my sons to wonder when they went to sleep if they were loved. I never wanted them to wonder when they got off the phone if they were loved. I never wanted them to wonder if somebody was going to come get them, if they were going to have to walk through the night in the winter to get home from football practice or from a play practice.
Sure.
Or if their father was going to come.
Yes.
I'm comfortable with my son saying that you don't have to come to this. I don't care if I have to. I'm coming.
Yeah.
You can't tell me I can't go.
Yes.
And
yes.
so I think that there's a decision that men make. Some base it upon their childhood. Well, we could argue that each bases it upon their childhood, but they reflect upon their childhood differently.
Yes.
Just because your father didn't do for you does not mean, therefore, you don't do for yours.
Exactly.
It works that in your case, it sounds that you had a spectacular father who got it right. I mean, there's you. How is it that you are able to, and for me, this is a super important part of who you are. You are a Renaissance man. You're not just a pastor, and I say that with the utmost adoration for those people who pastor. And I don't know too many people who pastor, whether they're pastoring a large church or storefront, who's just a pastor, even if they have a side hustle of their contractor and a pastor. So
Sure.
very few people, at least in my sphere, can be just a pastor. But in your role, you're able to create an experience that is far greater than what most people get to experience in their churches. which means you had to, as you said earlier, see yourself and your pastoral experience on a much larger scale. How many members would you say there are in your church?
We have a little over 20,000.
Shazam.
But then I'm in other groups of global apostolic leaders, and then I was sitting there, and then I had the smallest church. I've preached for friends who pastor 70,000 people down in Lima, Peru, and their church is done in a stadium, a bullfighting stadium. And I've been there and spoken, and every seat in the place was filled. It's just amazing. It's just a matter of actual perspective. I've done nearly 100 countries around the world. It has expanded my thinking, my ability to imagine and to reimagine. And sometimes until they can see, they can never be. And it's just painting the picture and telling the story. You can lead a horse to water, you can't make him drink, but we can expose them and create a thirst. One of the greatest gifts that my father gave to me was not money, but exposure. Exposure will transform your thinking until you can see a better way. See, you're an exception to the rule in that because your dad was not there, you didn't follow in his footsteps. Most people either follow that and become worse at that, or they become empowered by it to say, I wanted this from my dad. I'm going to give my children what my dad never gave me. And that becomes a motivating factor of love that then drives it. But somebody had to then demonstrate it. Whether it was a friend's dad, some other folks, you had to see some kind of dad somewhere who was showing up for his kid and saying, where's my dad? I wish my dad were here. And you didn't ever want your children to do that. And that became a motivating factor for you. But others go right down that negative way that they've seen.
I'm going to push you on this one, Bishop, because you say you have 5 other siblings, right? 5 other brothers?
Yes.
And I'm sure that they are successful in their own right. But I'm sure that the other 5 don't have 20,000 member churches. There's something, because I want you to, man, I really do appreciate your humility. I do. I'm going to push through it, though, because I think that, I think on the other side of that, there's something very important. There are people in the comments, a 17-year-old said that you are really helping him. And I think what he has to hear is when you're sitting in that space where an idea comes to you, deconstruct the process for us. Because a lot of people have ideas, Bishop. A lot of people have grand ideas, right? How many folks in your church, they'll see somebody with a business, they're like, I thought of that. And somebody in the family will say, yeah, my father used to talk about having that kind of burger business. Matter of fact, he had the same name of his.
Yeah.
God gives you ideas.
Sure.
He can give them everybody. Plants them everywhere. No disrespect to those people who've grown theirs as high as the skies. But all of us have these seeds, right?
Yes.
But you water yours, brother. You really put fertilizer on them and you carry them through. Even when those ideas don't seem like to anybody else, right? Because even the mightiest oak starts off as a seed.
Yes.
And when it breaks through the darkness of the soil, because the seed, you can't put it in upside down, it's going to find its way out. When it cracks through, it's very difficult to tell an oak from a blade of grass.
Exactly.
So your ideas have been blades of grass. And other folks, I'm sure, have looked at them like, man, what is this? He going to build a what? He's going to speak in a bullfighter stadium? He is bugging. How is it that you're able to beat back the insecurity that others heap on you because they don't know to do it inside themselves?
Everything happens in an atmosphere. I grew up in a leader's home. Leaders differently. It didn't just impact my life. It did impact the lives of every last one of my brothers who are exceptional men in their own right, doing well financially, brilliant, and are putting incredible quality in their children. My mother is still alive today. My dad's gone on because he would have been 115 years old now, Yeah. But mom is still alive. My mother has 30 grandchildren. 30 grandchildren. And you should see the, my baby brother is a graduate from Georgia Tech, and he's absolutely brilliant, and he's poured incredible quality in all 7 of his children. I have 5 children. He's the baby, but he's got more than all of us, and he's poured incredible quality. He's exposed them to different types of ideas. That's the atmosphere. It's different when you grow up in a leadership culture. Your ideas change the world. Ideas change the world. If you get a God-given idea released in its time, it burns in you. Because if you can put it out of your mind, it didn't come from God.
Say that. I need you to say that again. I need you to say that again. You can't leave that. You cannot say that one time.
Yes. If you can put your idea out of your mind, it didn't come from God. It burns in you. It festers in you. You can't stop thinking about it. You'll be on vacation and still going through this process of ideation. How do I do this? You get in the atmosphere of it. Get around other thinkers and producers. And creativity begets creativity. Go out into the nature.
Talk them through that. Because I don't think, let's just say that. Because a lot of people don't realize that one of the reasons why their ideas die is because they take their idea and put it in unfertile ground. Yes. People who will tell them that the idea is not good. You said get around other thinkers. Let's say that there's somebody today, because they are just excited. They are on fire. I know y'all. I told y'all I'll do 30 minutes. I'm sorry, Bishop. That folks want to hear what you got to say, so forgive me already. Somebody right now has an idea for a business or a book, and they don't know where to start.
Yeah.
They feel like God put this on their heart.
Yes.
Right. So they already say me. Look at them all raising their hands. Talk them through it. Talk them through it, Bishop. Talk them through that idea hits you, and it's just because I know what you talk about. Man, you lay down with it, and it's just like, ooh,
yes,
ooh, I can't get this out.
Yeah, when an idea has you, it really has you. You don't really have it. You don't just see dreams while you sleep. Your real dream is the thing that keeps sleep from you. It actually keeps sleep when it really has you. But the first thing that I would say is this: put it in writing. Put it in writing first. It makes you responsible. It brings clarity to your thinking process. And I would walk them through this process. Here's a process that I would give you. I normally get paid to teach people this principle. I'm going to give it to you.
Okay. All right.
It's the principle of number 1, discovery. And that's why exposure is so important. Discovery. You have to discover what is available in the world. What are the needs that are there? Because there is nothing more useless than an answer that nobody is asking the question of. So you discover what's available. Elon Musk discovered that there's a void in the market for these electric cars that have power to them and style to them, and it doesn't feel like a golf cart.
I got one. You're right, he did.
I do too. You see, all a need it was there for everybody, but it was hidden for him, and he saw that. Discovery is number 1. It's just, you have to discover it, and then you have to start developing an idea. You have to start Googling things, sending out emails, talking with people who've already done it. But you have to discover, and then you dream it. Discover it and dream it. If you don't discover first, you'll dream up something that's already done. So you have to discover, dream it, design it, do it, and then document it. You discover what's available, you dream it, you design it, and you're going to have to, if you're going to build your dream house, you need an architect. Somebody has to be the coach that helps to walk you through the process. But the idea gets the conversation started, gets the energy started, it gets the enthusiasm started, and it starts drawing people in your path who are connected to you.
That's a super important point.
Yes.
That right there is such an important point, and I want folks that really just on fire. for what you're saying, because what happens is when you have an idea
Yes.
and you share it with certain people, and
Yep.
they feel like it's their responsibility to tell you why that idea won't work.
Yep.
What do you say that you should do with that?
You should cut off from them and
Say it. Say it loud. Say that again. Say it
yeah.
again.
I mean, you really have to turn a deaf ear to that, cut that off, and find the ones that are actually doing it. You don't talk about having a baby to somebody whose womb is barren. You don't try to show your vision to somebody who's blind. And if they've tried something and failed, their fear from the experience that they had, now they're trying to impose that on you. So, and you need courage. You need courage because it's going to be intimidating. And it will, I mean, if God ever gives you something that is a God idea, it will cost more than what you have the money for. And it needs more support than what you have available to you at the time.
Hold on, that pause there, because you're going fast now, folks. Y'all got to hear what, because you're gonna go and get this the full lesson, because we're not going to take away from the way you eat, but one of the ways you eat. But I do want people to hear what you just said. Your dream is going to cost you more than you have. It's
Absolutely.
going to require more of the friends than you have. Because many people look around them and they take an audit of what they have, and they say, I can't buy no house. I ain't got no money for that. I can't go to college. I can't start no church. And because, right here you can't.
Yes, exactly.
How do they get out of here?
Yeah. Right. You know, there are three main currencies of life: time, money, and knowledge. Generally, we'll have two, and you're lacking the third. Whichever one you lack, use the other two to get it. If I need knowledge and I've got money and time, I can get the knowledge. If I've got time and I've got knowledge and I need money, I have to figure out now, how do I take my time and the knowledge that I have and turn the gold in my mouth into gold in my pocket?
Woo!
You know, you take two of the three currencies and get the third.
I need the mic is smoking right now. It's on fire. Fuego. How about that? I want people to hear what you're saying, and so I want to push you on some of this, because most people operate, I think, from a deficit model, right? They can tell you all the things that they don't have. Can you build from that perspective?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. God will never use in your life what you've lost. He'll always use what you've got left. And when he calls you to do something, he knows what you've lost, but it is never predicated on what you have lost. It's always on what you've got left. It is the seed. The seed is the thing that has, your future is so big that God has to put it in seed form in order for, I mean, just think about every little girl. When she is born, she has all of the eggs that she'll ever have in her life. She doesn't manufacture egg the way that men manufacture sperm. She has all of the eggs that she will ever have. It's in her life. It's just, they won't be released though until she matures. Because if something is released in your life before you have the maturity to handle it, you'll squander it.
Now that is powerful, because what I hear you saying is that there are people who will tell the story of what should have happened and could have happened. And what I hear you saying is that is not the case. It's going to happen in time.
Exactly.
If you do the things that you do, which if you take those three currencies and you use them effectively, and
Absolutely.
you don't look at it from a deficit perspective, then you are in a position to reap the rewards of the seeds that were planted inside you. Because what I heard you say was that if God, as you say, has put it in you,
yes,
then it ain't coming out easy. It ain't gonna go It's going to take your sleep from you.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And it always looks dark. And think about a seed when it goes down into the ground. That seed looks like chaos to be put down in something that is dirty and dark and damp. And you put it in that environment and you're waiting and you're watering and you don't see any change whatsoever. And then it begins to crack and disembowel. And it looks all discombobulated. It looks chaotic, but order always comes out of chaos. When you have an ordered mind internally, you can be put in a chaotic situation on the outside, and it is the order that is in us that actually then brings the order out of the chaos. So you can go in a storm and speak peace. And when you've got an ordered mind, the certain person that walks into the room, when they walk into the room with an ordered mind, with an understanding, with discipline in their mind, they bring they shift the atmosphere. They are a thermostat, not a thermometer. They are a thermostat, and they come and they shift the atmosphere that they're in. And it makes it productive.
Would you say, though, that the inertia that people face, the hate that comes, is derived from those people who don't feel like they can do themselves, and so they want to slow the other person down?
Absolutely. They are projecting on others the same thing that actually that they feel on the inside. When they treat you that way, it's not a reflection of who you are, it's a reflection of who they are. They're only showing you who they are. And so we can't get our identity from somebody who's walking around with a scarcity mindset, who has tried something and failed and didn't have enough perseverance to realize that sometimes you have to go back and try it again and again and again and again and again. And then eventually you'll see the birthing. It talks about how when the farmer plants that seed, he goes to bed and gets up, and it looks like nothing. And all of a sudden, then here comes a little shoot through the ground. So it's the consistency. Most people fail to be consistent. In when you're on the right track, if you stay consistent and persistent, you'll get there.
What's something that you failed at and failed to accept the failure?
I don't know that I've ever, just refused to accept a failure on something. I acknowledge it, because if I don't own it, I can't disown it. So if I fail, I remember one time I hired someone, and I asked them this question. I said, "Tell me one of your weaknesses." And he looked up to the ceiling and he said, "I can't think of any." And that should have been a red flag for me. I had to fire him.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. I think I might have hired that brother myself a couple times. In fact, he came back as a woman and a man. He's young and old, black and white. I've seen him. I've hired him. I have hired him many, many times. I think I got a couple of them I still work with right now who are infallible. Everything that happened to them.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Exactly. Exactly. And so this was one of those people who had no acknowledgement of anything that was a weakness or a failure in his own life. If anything, I've sometimes given people too much rope. I believe the best in people, and that comes from my pastoral heart, just trying to believe the best in people, because when you finally have to make a move, you kick yourself that you didn't do it earlier.
But you saw it, right?
They
didn't just introduce themselves to you. They introduced at introduction. It was clear who they were.
Absolutely.
But you hoped against what it was you saw.
Exactly.
How does because a lot of folks are there, right? They know what they don't need to check his phone because they know what's in it.
Yeah, sure, exactly.
They don't need to check her phone. They don't need to ask her friends. They don't do something goofy by putting GPS on somebody's car. They don't need to do that. They don't need references.
Exactly.
What are they not listening to? What are they not hearing?
They want to believe a lie, you know.
Okay,
You
okay.
know, they really do. It substantiates a feeling. You know, even you'd be surprised how people will lie to themselves just to make it look as though they were right. But
That is the
that's
worst lie, right? That is the most dangerous.
it's a sign of ill health. The
Mm,
healthy people are people who are self-aware. I mean, if they've got a bad temper, they know it and they can own it. They say, you know what, I have a bad temper. Don't push me here because you're going to see another side of me that's going to come out. But at least that's a healthy person when they are aware of it. It's another thing when you turn into a beast and then after you tear things up and then you snap back to yourself and you don't know what you did. So
right, right. So we recognize, right, that when we acknowledge who we are and we're comfortable in who we are, we don't have to walk in the shadows of our life.
exactly.
How is it that you're able to live in your life, in your truth, knowing that there are those who are all too willing to define you for you? Because there are a lot of labels for you. You're a pastor, you're a business person, you're a speaker. They say you're an actor. Uh, I, I mean, and you, whether you like it or not, are somehow pulled into the undertow politics. How is it that you stand at? We often look at the term on purpose without thinking about what it means. It really means to stand on something that is sturdy. How is
Yes.
it that you're able to stand on your purpose despite all of the definitions of who you are?
You know, um, to me, the essence of what you're called to do is the part of the defining for you. You know, to me, that defines my life, and I'm very comfortable in that. Part of that is almost saying that, you know what, I just want the respect of the people that are closest to me, and if I have the respect of those people, it doesn't matter what the world thinks of me. And I was affirmed and loved by my parents. And when you get that kind, every son, every daughter needs affirmation. Every son, every daughter needs approbation. And every son and every daughter needs achievement. You can't just say, my baby is just wonderful, my baby is just wonderful, and they never do anything noteworthy. They keep failing at sports, failing in their grades. You know, you have to have some level of achievement, you know,
Right.
that will affirm that, hey, maybe my mama and daddy did see something in me and encourage something in me. So you have to have the approbation and the affirmation, but also achievement. They are the three necessary elements for a positive, healthy self-esteem.
I've never heard anyone say that. I've never heard anyone talk about the importance of earned self-esteem.
Oh my.
You are speaking on something that is making more than a few people uncomfortable,
Oh wow.
because a lot of folks are very comfortable saying that their child is already whatever
Yeah.
he is he's the greatest, right?
Right.
And you're saying that real self-esteem can't come from that. You got to earn this, bro. You got to.
Absolutely.
You can't say I'm nice, I'm good, I'm amazing, I'm a fantastic if you don't have achievement. That's a different way of doing it. Yeah, there's some toes being stepped on, but I got to check. There's some gators that got bent up around here.
Oh, you know, I mean, you can't give everybody on the team a trophy. Uh,
Okay?
when they get out into the real world, that's not how life responds to them. Life is not going to respond to people and give everybody the same reward. There is, you know, there is a cause and effect. There is energy and effort and determination and discipline and so many different things where you have to keep talking to yourself to have the tenacity and the pertinacity to go back and to say, you know what, I'm going back in here. I'm going to finish this. I'm going to finish my degree. I don't care how difficult it is. You know, that has to be something that comes out of a deep resolve in a person's life, because it is a conviction, it is a passion, and they realize that others are believing in them, and that helps to pull you even when you don't want to let yourself down. To have somebody who believes in you My God, if you can take one person, whether it's a grandmother, a grandfather, an uncle, a cousin, a coach, a school teacher, a principal, and one of the greatest compliments that I get from people is that because of you, I didn't quit.
Whew.
Because of you, I didn't quit.
But you're saying something I think that is even more important. What I hear you saying is that our own psyche needs evidence of perseverance and performance in order to be comfortably developed. You can't have authentic self-esteem to fight off
exactly
the definitions of others if you don't have evidence inside yourself that you might actually be able to. You can't run around and people saying you ain't never gonna be nothing. You think you all that. If you don't actually have evidence, say actually I'm pretty good. I got receipts.
Absolutely. Think about David when he slew Goliath. He had a track record. He killed a bear. He killed a lion with his bare hands. He had a track record. You don't even let them go to an important battle like that if they don't have a track record. You don't bring somebody in as the head of school and you've never even taught a class, and you've never led a group of people, and you've never raised funds. I mean,
man, look, I told him I would keep for half hour. We're pulling up on hour. I'm not going to break any more of my word. We're going to do this again. Let me say this to you, Bishop. Because the last piece that you just said, where you talked about you need to have evidence in order to be able to make the claims. They would not have sent David out, yes, without evidence. You ain't gonna send a clown out there to slay the giant. Come on, dog. That's not what we're doing. Like, you trying to get this little boy killed out here, and he went out there. I got this, y'all. And more than a few folks like, that's all he's bringing out there.
Right.
What they didn't know was what he had was evidence that he could do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you have been your share of David. I say, man, this has been an amazing conversation. Just so you know, Bishop and I met briefly at a fantastic event celebrating our good friend and brother, Bishop T.D. Jakes. And somebody said it was Black Excellence. I said, no, that was Black Spectacular. That wasn't excellent. I've seen Black Excellence. I threw Black Excellence away after I left that. I have my mind was blown. But so as we part, you and I are going to do this again. I can't wait to have another conversation. I really can't. So you and I are going to stay in contact. Quick question, off topic. Gospel song that comes to your mind. First one that comes to your mind.
Amazing Grace.
Why's that?
Well, it is, all that I am by the grace of God.
Workout song that comes to mind. Workout songs don't always sound like the ones that we play in front of everybody. Workout song that comes to mind. I'm gonna let you off the hook on that, Pastor. I appreciate you. I just want everybody to know that we all got the same workout. We all got the same workout list. That playlist is rough for all of us. We can't. Don't nobody want our workout list to be played in front of anybody. I tell you, my wife's workout list sometimes it ends up in the car. I'm like, what? Whose is this? But it's been a real pleasure having this conversation with you. This has been fantastic. I cannot wait for us to do some work together in the future, brother. I genuinely appreciate you. It has been an honor to spend this time. Thank you for joining us tonight on No Dumb Questions. Thank you so much.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right, y'all take